to sum everything up, instead of going like play by play and just, I don't think it's constructive to call a bunch of individual guys out. I think there's some things that are really critical with this defense that come with experience, and like we're not getting there fast enough. And it is a basic understanding of how to play the football game, right? We have to understand leverage in open field situations as tacklers. And that carries over to almost everything. It carries over to plays in the running game in the box. It carries it over to open field tackling. It carries over to how I play the passing game and where I fit in the network of the zone coverage. Leverage and help. We have to have a better understanding of that. We have to have a basic understanding of like, what are the important principles of zone coverage? How do you play? How do you work through route progressions? You have to understand how offenses operate, the why and the how of where they build their route progressions. Like, there's a reason there's a guy running a 6-yard hookup in front of you on 3rd and 12. Is it to complete the 6-yard hookup? No, it's to get you to drive on it and complete the dig in behind you. Like, these are basic principles that we don't have a good enough understanding of right now. And I think it's because, learning a new defense and a new scheme, a bunch of guys are so worried about themselves and like, where do I fit? Like, am I the hook dropper? Am I the flat dropper? And with all of that going on, we lose kind of the basic principles of what we're doing out there, like the grand scheme of things. We don't have very good vision right now as an entire defense. And I can tie that into the zone coverage with the backers and safeties. I can tie that into the defensive ends who continue to run up the field. You do not run up the field. You've got to have some vision and understanding of what's happening. If the tackle that you're lined up on is hard away from you, you do not run up the field. You keep your pads square and you stay at the level of the line of scrimmage. Like, we don't understand that basic concept. I don't know how. We don't understand like the basic premise of the rule of pass interference. Okay. We have to have an understanding of how that rule works. If you are in great position and you do not turn to find the football, you will be flagged. That's how it is. It doesn't matter that you timed it good. It doesn't matter like that you felt like there was contact both ways. The receiver's looking for the football. You are not. You're going to get flagged, right? We don't understand that. We don't understand right now that a screen is a run. What do I mean by a screen is a run? In a running game, if you are the flat player, you are a hammer player is what we call it. Hammer is whenever you keep your outside arm free. You keep everything inside of you. If you are a hook player, that means you are a spill player. What does that mean? That means you keep your inside arm free and spill the ball to the outside. A screen is a run. So as the screen unfolds in a game, if I'm the flat player, I have to fight outside. It doesn't matter where the ball is. I have to find the blockers and fight outside. If I'm the hook player, I have to fit inside the outside blocker because I'm a spill player, right? We don't understand that. And I could keep going on, we don't communicate well. Communication, there's always got to be communication between the safeties of who is deep, who is in the fit, who's low, right? Communication with the corner. We got that motion. You're the deep third now, right? Like DJ Graham or whatever happens out there. There's got to be communication, but we're too locked in on our job right now because we don't have a good enough understanding that we're like this instead of like this. We don't anticipate. Right? There's every defense has stresses. right? And there's stresses for every player within the defense, right? And whenever you line up before the ball snap, you have to have your antennas up to what are the stresses for me and my responsibility in this defense. Is it a motion to where it creates a new responsibility for me? Is it a tough blocking scheme to where I have to fit something a little bit differently than I typically do? There's stresses in everything. We have no anticipation for any of the stresses, you know, and it's, to me, it's more about that, like the big understanding, than it is really, because everything ties into that, than it is going in and like dissecting each individual play, because these are things that have carried over the last, you know, really not just the last, every game so far this year that we haven't made much progress in.
And that's frustrating, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you think about when you're in a new defense or a new system, no matter offense, defense, whatever, the hope would be the more you play, the more experience you get out on a game field playing in that system, the better you get, right? The more comfortable you get. And the alarming part for me is it feels like the defense is getting worse. That the busts, the misfits, the thinking like that it's piling up instead of like it's increasing instead of decreasing. That's alarming.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing, like, this is the tough part of all of those things that I just went through. Like, you have to have that general understanding. And like, there's a checklist you go through on every play. What's my gap? What do I have in the passing game? Who has the quarterback on the zone read stuff? Am I involved in that? Right? There's big checklist of what you have to go through. And you know, the difficult thing is, offensively, it is not a fixed problem. It's not a fixed equation that you know the answer to, like, as you line up. The equation is changing. There's motions, there's shifts, right? There's guys coming across the ball after the snap, changing gaps and changing the numbers for zone coverage. And you just, there's no way around. You just have to learn it. You do. And if you don't, you will continue to be exposed. And that's why it's looked worse and worse, is because as teams prepare for you, they know, they can see that right now you are not a assignment sound football team. So they are going to continue to change the picture on you and wait for the big mistake to happen. And that's where the 73-yard easy touchdowns come from.